Welcome to another episode of the Abroad Life. On today's section, I'm going to be walking you through how to complete your DS-160 form. Don't forget, every non-immigrant visa applicant to the US have to complete and submit a DS-160 form. The applicant must sign the electronic DS-160 by himself or herself and vouch that there is correctness of all the entered data. Even if someone helped you, you completed the form, um, there is no fee for submitting a DS-160 form. And once submitted, the DS-160 application cannot be edited. However, the form, once you submit, if there's any error, you can start a new one. A new DS-160 can be started with corrected information, and all you need is your application ID for the new DS-160 um, to be used for your visa application. Now, let's get started. The first thing you need to do is to go to Google search, just search for DS-160 form as you can see on my screen. Then make sure the website is ceac.state.gov. Then you click on the form. Then the landing page, you see apply for a non-immigrant visa. You can spend some time to go through the information here. As I have explained in my intro, you can also look at this important information before you start, making sure like you have all the required document depending on the type of visa that you are applying for. The next thing you want to do, probably the first most important thing, is to select the location that you will be applying for the visa. So if you live in Nigeria or anywhere in Africa, feel free to search for your city or um, the location of your choice. For me, I'll be doing Albania just for the purpose of today's video. Then I'm going to enter this code as shown on the site. Make sure to enter the right code. Then for me, because I've already initiated this process, I'm going to just go to retrieve an application. If you are starting this for the first time, then you just have to hit on start an application. So for me, I'll go here, retrieve an application. Then the next thing is that it's going to ask me for the application ID. So if you are starting this for the first time, of course, you don't have an application ID. You have to start afresh. Then you complete all this information. So I already have that information. I'm just pulling it out here just to save time. And I'm going to walk you through the process of what exactly I did. Okay, yeah. So I assume like you're starting the application for the first time. You choose your location, then you hit on start application. Then this is going to be the next page that you're going to see. So this is how the form looks like. You start from get started to personal information. You have to complete all the required information in each of these sessions up to the very last one. So I'm going to walk you through how to do this, in no time. Can actually, I mean, it's good to take as much time as possible. Be diligent enough to make sure you fill in the right information that correctly represents you, because whatever information you provide there is going to get to the US consular, right? So the visa officer is going to be most likely looking at this information while he or she is interviewing you on your visa interview date. So you want to make sure that no information that you put out here is falsified. You want to make sure like this is a correct representation of yourself and your credentials and documents. So you put in your name, you answer all the questions here, and you move to the next stage. One thing you want to make sure you do is to save your information at every stage, so that once this um expire, I think the time expires within 5 to 10 minutes, you might have to like relog in again so that you can easily continue from where you stop. So you fill in your pass. You see this section just timed out. So all I need to do is to go to OK. Yeah, I think this is the part that can be really tricky. It can be tedious if you don't manage the time very well. But one thing you want to do is make sure you save your information. As you fill those information, make sure you hit on save at every 2-3 minutes, so that you can easily continue from where you stop. Otherwise, it's going to be very frustrating uh, as you go through this process. But trust me, it's really advisable if you fill this form by yourself, because you will be very sure of what information you are putting out there, and so that um, whatever answers you are providing on the day of your interview, right, you can be sure it's exactly what is on your DS-160 form. Yeah, so as I was saying, let's go back. Basically, if you look to my left, you will see these are a couple of informations that you have to provide, from your travel history, book companion, your US travel address and phone, your passport information, US contact, your family details, education, charity and background, then student exchange visa. This is actually for student. For this application, I chose F1, and you're going to see um how exactly I did that. So here, purpose of trip to the US. This is where you get to choose, right? So if you are traveling on a visiting visa, or I mean, you're traveling for pleasure or a business trip, you're going to select B. If you're a foreign government official, it's going to be A class visa. I mean, there are different classes of visa. If you're a transfer student or a student on exchange, then it's going to be a J visa. A temporary worker visa is also here. It's going to be H category. Then academic visa, language student is going to be F. Um, so F, then here you also need to specify, are you the student or are you the dependent? You know, are you the spouse of the F1 student? You need to pick the appropriate one here. If you're the student, you go for F1. You have opportunity to also add and remove. So if you are going with 10 dependent, so you can keep adding. All you need to do is to just add another. You can keep adding as many um, as you want to add. So, but for me, I'm going to remove this. Then the next one is, do you have a travel plan? It's okay if you have a travel plan, but it's advisable not to book, do not book a flight while you are still waiting for your US interview. It's advisable to just, just put an intended travel date based on your admission, based on your visit or your business trip or whatever. But if you have already scheduled program, like you are so sure of what your itinerary looks like, you can go for yes, and you have to really provide all those details here, and be sure that whatever information you are providing here, you are able to provide the same responses, the same answers once the visa officer asks you on the date of your interview. So for me, we're going for no. The intended date, you fill this. Intended length of stay. For a student, you go for 2 years. Typically, US visa will be 2 years from Nigeria, most part of Africa. If you're an Indian, it will be 5 years. You give information about the address of where you are going. So, and that is why all this information, make sure you have them before you start filling your DS-160 form. If you're going to be traveling with someone, this is where to say, hey, this is yes. Are you traveling as a group? Yes or no? If you're traveling alone, you go for no. Then again, don't forget to always save as you fill in this information. Save intermittently, maybe at every 4 to 5 minutes. Then you go to you go to the next one. Now, this is where it's really get very important. It's becoming increasingly tricky for visa applicants to get US visa approved once, right? So, and typically you want to make sure that you provide the right information, especially on your previous travel history. If you have been denied the US visa in the past, this is where to answer that question appropriately. If you have been refused a visa before, as you can see here, you go for yes and just explain. If you have been denied a US visa in the past, this is not a time to go for no. thinking that if you just do no, like nobody is going to know, like you are trying to like increase your chance. Giving a false information here on your travel history does not increase your chances of getting a US visa. It will most likely reduce that chance. You are likely going to get a denier if you give a false information here, because they most likely have that information, they most likely have that data, right? So you are just providing this information based on your US visa interview, right? So you are providing this information as part of your next US visa interview process. So make sure if you have been refused, you have an opportunity to explain. In few words, explain you applied last year for a student visa and you were denied. Give sufficient reason, vital reasons, cogent reasons in 1 to 2 sentences, and you'll be fine. And also make sure to save. So all I'm just saying is that be truthful and straightforward as much as possible when you fill this form. This is where most agents mess up applicants' US visa process by providing information that the applicant is not even aware of. So you want to make sure you take some time to go through whatever information you are putting out there. Um, so once you are able to complete all this process, you put in your work history up to get into security and background questions. As you can see here too, you see a number of questions. Most people just in a hurry just go for no. It doesn't, again, as I said, you're not likely going to boost your chances of getting the visa if you falsify the information here. So you want to be as honest as possible. All you need to do is provide the reason, explain in 1 or 2 sentences why this is yes, and that's all you need. And you click on save. You upload your photo. The recommendation for the photograph is already here. And while you complete all of this, finally you need to sign. You'll be provided a platform to sign. Then your DS-160 form is completed. All you need to do is copy this number, save this application ID, and this ID is what you are going to use when you are scheduling your US visa interview. Yeah, I hope this is helpful. I hope we are able to clarify a number of thoughts and confusions that people might be having in the past. If you have questions or you want more clarification on anything related to DS-160 form, please just feel free to shoot me a message, reach out. Yeah, all the best, and thank you.